Hello, welcome back to the woods and welcome to my first make your own gear video of 2020. Now the channel has been really busy over the last few weeks. Indeed, I've picked up an extra 700 subscribers, and some of you may not realise I am really keen on people having a go at making their own kit. Now to me there's three big benefits to making your own kit. Number one, well, you save a few quid. Outdoor gear, particularly bushcraft gear at the moment, seems to be really expensive, and everyone thinks you need to spend a fortune on gear for bushcraft. No, you don't. Make your own, you can save a few quid. Reason number two, well, doesn't matter how good a piece of gear is, it's very difficult to find a piece that is exactly right. For example, you might have got a rucksack, you might have the right number of pockets, but the pockets might not be in the right place. Or it's a great bit of gear, but I can't get it in the colours that I want it. Well, last but not least, it's an absolutely brilliant piece of kit, but I can't use it around the fire because it melts. So that's reason number two. You can make your own and solve all of those things. Reason number three, well, it's the brilliant feeling you get from using a piece of gear that you've crafted yourself, you've thought through, you've made, and now you're actually out there in the woods using it, seeing that it does work. And it's a great feeling, and it's one that everyone should have a go at experiencing. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make something really simple, a nice starter project that could lead on to much bigger things. And the bit of kit I'm going to show you how to make is these replacement shoulder straps for either the LK35 rucksack, immensely popular in bushcraft circles in Europe, or the Alice pack, because these straps will fit either. That's better, rain stopped. So for this project, as well as a sewing machine, all you are going to need equipment wise is a pair of scissors and a tape measure and a marker pen, and that's about it. So as far as materials go for this project, all you're going to need is some Cordura nylon, which you could use other stuff, but I find Cordura is quite heavy duty, and you're going to need probably about 1/4 metre of that, and that usually tends to be about 1.5 metres wide, 150 centimetres. I've also used some Terraline heavy duty mesh, which I'm going to use on the inside of my shoulder straps, which is, I find it breathes quite well, it's quite comfortable to have, it doesn't wear on your clothing too much. Not everyone can get that, so you could just double up on the Cordura, in which case your 1/4 metre would still be enough. You're also going to need 3 metres of 25mm wide polypropylene webbing, 2 25mm tri-glide buckles, and 2 25mm ladder lock buckles, and those are your ones that adjust down here. Well, you're going to need some closed cell foam. I tend to use bits of old kit mat, sleeping mat. As well as that, you're going to want some thread. I'm just using a polyester, I think it's Gutermann thread that I'm using. So your first job is to cut out the items that you are going to need. If you cut your foam first, and what you want is something that's not so much thick as wide, it helps to spread the weight out. So I've cut these so that they are 8 centimetres wide by 40 centimetres long, and that's going to give me my shoulder straps. I go for straight shoulder straps. Yes, you could do slightly J-shaped ones, you can do S-shaped ones, but they are quite complicated to do. Straight ones work just fine. So you're going to cut a straight piece of foam that's 8 centimetres wide, 40 centimetres long, and then at one end just going to snip the corners off just slightly round the end. Now your cordura is going to go over the top of that foam, and in my case I've also got the nylon that's going to go on there as well, the heavy duty mesh. That needs to be cut slightly bigger than your foam because it's going to encase it. So your cutting is going to be 11 centimeters wide by 48 centimeters long. So it's 11 wide, 48 centimeters long. Now, from your 3 meters of polypropylene webbing, you're going to cut 4 25 centimeter lengths, and those are going to be for attaching to the frame and for attaching your ladder lock buckles onto the harness. The remaining piece, you just fold it in two, cut it in half. That will be more than enough. With those bits, what you have to be aware of with the webbing is that it frays. The way you can stop it from fraying, all I do is I just light up a candle and I just quickly run the edge along there just to melt it slightly and seal it. Please be aware it does give off some slightly dodgy fumes, so don't breathe them in. So your first job, you're going to take one of your 25 centimeter pieces of polypropylene webbing, and you are going to attach it to a buckle, and you're just going to thread it through and then sew it in place, and you do that on both of your buckles. So you should have 2 little straps with buckles on the end. With that done, you're going to sew those onto your face fabric that's going to be on the outside of your harness, so in my case the cordura, and I sew it and I make sure that it's nice and central, and also that it's about 3 or 4 centimeters back from that bottom edge, because obviously we're going to turn that edge in at some point, so we still want the buckle protected by the pad. When I sew those on, what I tend to do is I sew 2 rows of multi-zigzag, which is a very strong type of stitch that quickly bar tacks across your piece of webbing, and I do that twice just there as backup. So if one suddenly unravels and starts to thin out, then you've got it there as backup. I'll then do 2 more on the upper part, and that gives me 2 little loops that I can attach things to, whether it's paste beads or a compass, whatever, but it gives me these 2 extra useful loops. So with those sewn on, what I'm then going to do is I'm going to, with that uppermost, I'm going to place my other fabric, my mesh, on top of that, and I'm going to sew down 3 edges. So I'm going to leave the top edge open, I'm going to sew down the side, around the bottom where the buckle is, and back up the other side, and I'll do that twice, so it's nicely held together with 2 rows of stitching. That way, if one starts to come apart, the other one is there as backup. And once I've done that to both the straps, what I'm then going to do is turn them inside out, and that takes a little bit of work. You've really got to weave to get it through, you need to work it with your thumbs, pull with your fingers, but it does eventually come out. You can use a stick, push that up inside to get it right to the corners, and once that's done, all you've got to do then is just insert your foam. I found the best way to do that is if you fold your foam in 2 lengthwise, so it got a little bit more rigidity, and then slide it down inside the tube of fabric. Make sure it goes right the way down to the end. So with the foam inside the tube, make sure it's pushed right down to the end, and then you're going to sew up tight against that with your sewing machine so it's held in. You're then going to fold the two top corners down to that point to create a pointed shape at the top of the strap. Sew that in place down the edges, and then with that done, you're going to take one of your 25 centimetre long pieces of polypropylene webbing, and you're going to sew that to the underside. And the way you're going to sew it in place is you're going to use your multi-zigzag stitch, and you can do that multiple times up and down on that line, and you're going to do that 3 times evenly spaced. That way that bit is not going to pull through or pull off. That particular part is where the strap attaches to the shoulder, to the frame of your pack. So it's under quite a bit of stress, so you need to make sure it's well secured. Now with that done, well, that's pretty much the padded bit of the shoulder strap done. All you've got to do now is attach your polypropylene webbing to the actual buckle. Before we do that, if you take that strap, and the pad has to be able to pass through a loop that you're going to put on the end. So at one end of your polypropylene webbing, fold it around your shoulder strap, making sure that the shoulder strap will pass through. Make a little allowance on there, and then you're just going to sew that with 2 rows of multi-zigzag stitching. Again, this is quite a high stress point, and it needs to be well attached, because that's going to attach to the bottom of the frame eventually, and that's going to be under quite a bit of load. So we need to make sure that's properly done. With that loop in one end, you're going to take the other end and actually pass it through your ladder lock buckle. And then on the end of that, you're going to make another little loop just big enough for your thumbs to go through, which will help with adjusting. But what it also means is if the strap ever pulls through the buckle, when it gets to that where the loop is, it jams and it can't completely pull out. So it's now a fixed loop on either end with the buckle and the strap somewhere in the middle. And then it's all good to go and ready to attach to the frame. So here's my strap all finished. I've got my top piece with my little tri-glide buckle on. At the bottom of this padded strap I've got my ladder lock buckle, and then I've got my adjustable strap with the small loop at one end. It then passes through the buckle down to my big loop at the other end. To attach it to the frame, all we do, find one of your loops at the bottom of the frame, pass it through, then take this end of your strap, pass that through, and then this end, where you go for one of these attachment points up here, and all I do is pass it underneath, pass it around the frame, through the ladder lock buckle, pulling it nice and tight, lock it off, and then, and this is the important bit, you're going to loop it back on itself and pass it back under the other side of the tri-glide buckle. This locks it in place. Done. So there it is, finished. I've added a little chest strap on there. I will get around to making one that is in the same colours. And the idea with the chest strap in, all it does is it helps to, if I'm carrying a heavier load than I would normally carry in just my regular day load, then this wide shoulder strap's pulled in onto the chest spreads the load out nice and easily, so it makes it a much more comfortable carry. Also, if I'm moving cross country, if I've got to get over obstacles, if I'm dipping down a lot, the sort of things you do when you're in the woods, this helps to keep it all a lot more stable. It moves with you rather than moving independently of you. As I said right at the beginning, the colour of this one, the reason I've gone for this tan is that's because I'm using this harness as part of a bigger project. Later on in the year I'm going to do a overnighter using all gear that I've made myself, or as close as I can get to all gear that I've made myself. Now, on that very subject of other gear that I'm making, while I was making this shoulder harness, I also made this. And this is another strap, but it's got strap buckles, adjustable buckles on either end. And that's for a project that's coming up in a few weeks' time. And that is one, again, it's very simple, but it's one you really don't want to miss. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel so you don't miss that one, because it really is going to be a goodie. Now, if you found this video useful and you liked it, then remember, hit that like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit that notifications bell as well, so that when I put up a new video, you're not going to miss it. And there seems to be an awful lot of you at the moment who are tuning in very regularly to see what sort of stuff I'm doing. And that's good, because there's some very, very good stuff coming up. You can also go and check me out on Instagram. I am greencraft_01. You can also follow me on Facebook, just search for Greencraft. You can also go and check out my Etsy shop. It's called Greencraft Shop originally, and over there you will find things like my Greencraft patch, but you'll also find one or two bits and pieces that I make. I've got some wood wizards over there at the moment, my little owl bookmarks. Occasionally you'll also get my little EDC pouches, but I put a load up and they just went just like that, the last batch. I'm hoping to get a few more scarves up in the next few weeks, and also I'm going to reorder some of my little enamel mugs. If you haven't already got one, order one. They seem to go very quick. I think I've got one left on there at the moment, so I'm about to order another batch. Get yourself one and show your support for the channel. I think that's everything. I've been Neil, and until next time, stay safe.